Life drawing. What is it? Why do I need it? Before college, I'd never taken a life drawing course. If your high school was like mine, art class wasn't much more than an art history class. Great, Guernica's the shit. How the fuck does that help me? So when I got to college and found out some schools actually had models, I was pissed off. I'd seen life drawing on TV and in movies and shit. I knew what it was. I think everyone does. And I know I've already covered this, but I'm gonna go a little more in depth this time. First thing when you walk in, you're gonna see these. What the fuck is this thing? It looks like someone was building a bookcase and gave up halfway through. Yeah, just give it to those art kids. They'll sit on anything. Yeah, that's right, it's a chair and a lectern. In painting class, we turned them upside down and used them as tables with about 3 square inches of usable space. But now the bottom's huge. It sticks out and gets in the way. Some people call them drawing horses. We call them donkeys. Most likely because when you sit on them, you look like an ass. Then there's the supplies. The paper's newsprint, because it's cheap as hell. It's not worth the paper it's printed on, and that doesn't even make sense. And you draw usually with Conte, not Kant. Think of it as expensive chalk. In your Fundy startup kit, they give you a pack of these with all these different shades of gray, but you'll almost always be using black, and maybe white. Shit gets everywhere, I hate it. You're supposed to use these little silly putty erasers. If you don't stretch them out, they fuck up your page. Have you ever heard of an eraser that needs exercise? Now obviously you're gonna need some life to draw, so you get a model. You're gonna find it's often fatter people, but that's because they're actually way more interesting to draw. That doesn't stop some asshole from complaining about it. Oh yeah? Let's see you strip in front of a room full of strangers. But that's the next thing. When you first go to a life drawing class, there's going to be a few kinds of people. First, you've got those immature pricks who have to comment on everything. The model was ugly. The pose sucks. The project is stupid. I can't see anything from this angle. These types have probably never been in the presence of an actual naked person before and are too rude to just shut the fuck up. People are trying to focus on drawing, and the model's concentrating on not getting a hard-on. Have some respect. And there's people always making noise outside the class.
Do you mind? There's people trying to be nude in here.
Then you've got people who went to a good high school or whose parents could afford private art lessons. There's always at least one of these jerks in each class. They'll be the ones using brown Conte right out of the gate. They'll always be complaining that their perfect work didn't turn out the way they would have liked. My only advice, it's not healthy to compare yourself to others. Then you've got people like me, smart enough to handle life drawing class, but too stupid to try harder, or smart enough to know they'll never improve. Whatever. These people are normally the ones bored as hell just waiting for the class to run out of time. And speaking of time, each class is made up of poses, obviously, all organized by how much time the model will hold them for. Maybe you'll start off with 10 1-minute warm-up poses, and then some 10-minute poses, then a couple of half-hour poses at the end. And let me tell you how that works. For the warm-up poses, forget it. Everyone's going apeshit swinging their arms in these big arcs. The idea is to loosen you up, draw from the shoulder. But by the time I manage a crippled stick man, we're on to the next one. The medium-length poses aren't so bad. Sometimes you get into a groove and it'll turn out half-decent. Maybe you'll be like, man, look at that elbow. I drew the shit out of that elbow. These half-hour ones, though, it gets dicey. I'd always get about 10 minutes in and have the sudden realization that, no, this isn't turning out. But now I'm fucked. It's too late to start over, and I've got to have finished pieces to turn in. At this point, I usually just throw a Master Chief helmet on whatever old lady we're drawing and consider it finished. There, art. Fuck this. A lot of you might be nervous drawing in front of other people for the first time, but it's something you've just got to get used to. Besides, you're all gonna suck in the beginning anyway. The real killer is genitals. A lot of people just won't draw them. Either they're too immature to look at and draw a dick, or they just don't consider it part of the pose. Well, excuse me, but it's part of the body. Don't just skip over that shit. I'd look over at my neighbor and just see this huge void. Like leg, chest. Sometimes when I knew my piece just wasn't turning out, I'd spend whatever time was left rendering some guy's balls in excruciating detail, just to make up for all the pansies around me. Don't worry, man. I got you covered. Someone's drawing your nuts. Yeah. Check out the core shadow on that frenulum. Life drawing really fascinated me. When you see some good ones hanging in the halls, it can be really inspiring and beautiful. But in the end, I was never happy with what I was putting out. Still, anyone even considering a career in art needs to do this. It will help you. So sit your ass down, shut your damn mouth, and get dirty. No, dirty. Either one.